You're watching Camnet TV, not just another channel. Welcome to our news. The headlines: abusive Chinese national snubs Zambian authorities. LAS condemns PF over threatening remarks against judges as party disowns MOONGA for the second time. Persistent talks between IMF and Zambian government over bailout worry CTPD. In international news, Texas governor blames Biden for migrant surge at border. And in sports news, NAPSA stars ready to face defending champions RS BERKANE. For the details, join me shortly after this break.
The Bible says, I knew you before I placed you in your mother's womb. Apples and bananas.
Work and wait, and this what you've been praying for.
With the details, my name is Liseli Kanyanga Mubanga. The Center for Trade Policy and Development, CTPD, says it is concerned with the lack of progress regarding the finalization of a formal economic package between the Zambian government and the International Monetary Fund, IMF, despite protracted negotiations. Last week, the IMF, in a statement, said discussions were still ongoing, though they still had a number of teething issues to resolve with the government. CTPD Researcher and Public Finance Wakumelo Mata has asked government to furnish the Zambian people with true information over the negotiations as opposed to holding it to their chests. Mr. Mata says the center is concerned that the country has accrued some arrears after failing to honor its 42.5 million and 56.1 million United States dollars coupon payments to request a formal IMF program under the extended credit facility window. He says the end of the 6 months debt service suspension given to Zambia by the G20 creditors under the debt service suspension initiative is fast approaching. This essentially implies that should the 6 months period elapse and Zambia is required to resume all debt repayments without successfully undertaking the debt restructuring process, the debt situation in the country will worsen.
The Center for Trade Policy and Development is concerned about the prolonged exchanges between the government of the Republic of Zambia and the International Monetary Fund without any substantive indication of progress being made towards the finalization or agreement to a formal IMF program. This is in light of the fact that the end of the debt service suspension that was given to Zambia by the G20 creditors is fast approaching, essentially implying that should the 6 months period elapse without Zambia successfully navigating the debt restructuring process, Zambia will actually be worse off in terms of debt service costs than it was before the 6 months on account of the depreciated kwacha. This will significantly dampen fiscal fitness and present serious challenges to a successful rebounding of the economy.
Operation Young Vote Executive Director Guest Yurenda has regretted that despite a directive from the Patriotic Front PF top leadership to its members to desist from dishing out money on social media as well as making cash donations, the trend has continued. Recently, PF National Mobilization Chairperson Richard Musukwa said all forms of public display of cash during meetings is against the ideological foundations of the PF PF as a pro-poor party. However, the trend has continued, with the latest being that of Kankoyo, PF aspiring Member of Parliament Eddie Chomba, who was seen distributing money in brown envelopes to marketeers. And Mr. Nyirenda is concerned that as opposed to giving people sustainable empowerment, politicians are busy dishing handouts.
They are dishing out monies today. Would you call that empowerment? I mean, people must really think twice. The PF and what they are doing in terms of dishing out. You can't have a minister, the whole minister. Minister is the executive, okay? Executive arm of government. The whole minister carries cash money and says, where is the issue of money laundering there? How does one carry that money? For what? What do you want to show? That monies cannot be distributed like that. Monies cannot be handled like that. It's unacceptable. And because we have accepted this wrong way of doing things, this is why this country will continue to lag behind. This is why this country will not move forward, because people are playing, and you are playing on other people's minds by saying, okay, if they see cash, then we will move them. If they see cash, their heartbeats will be for us, and they will like us. I don't think that is the way things should be done. Yes, people need cash. People need empowerment. But the way empowerment is being done, I don't think there would be accountability in the way monies are handled by whoever accesses that money. We must have a program. It must just conform to the financial regulations that Zambia has. I don't think the Bank of Zambia or the governor or whichever person in the financial sector would appreciate what is happening in terms of the way monies are distributed.
In a related development, the United Party for National Development, UPND, has called on the Electoral Commission of Zambia, ECZ, to ensure that political players in the country abide by the Electoral Process Act. Commenting on the said development, UPND Elections Chairperson Garin Kombo has told the press that the trend where PF members are flashing huge sums of money to unsuspecting citizens is against the guidelines of the Electoral Process Act. Ms. Nkombo, who is also Mazabuka central lawmaker, has also noted that the new culture and trend by the PF was an exhibition of how the PF would run their campaigns during the forthcoming general elections. He charged that the electoral body is mandated to execute its constitutional mandate in line with the stipulations of the Electoral Process Act. He also advised Zambians to get the free money, as well as to ask their neighbors and children to ask for more, adding that the funds being distributed belonged to them.
We have decided to give you the benefits which you never enjoyed. And we would like to tell the public that when they come with money, ask them for more until you run them dry. When they come and front you for money because you are not for sale, we from UPND are saying this is your gratuity. And I'm speaking to the public now. Go to the source. Deplete all the money that they are having. The stacks and boxes and bundles of cash that they are giving public. Call your neighbors. Call your siblings and say there's a gold pit of money from PF. This is the money the PF must have used to soften your living standards as a country. But as they leave office, they have decided that they're going to reward you with your benefits for bad governance. That's to the public. To the ECZ, I think that time for child's play now has come to an end, and you must perform your function in accordance to the dictates of the Electoral Processes Act, which also establishes you as a body. You must raise the flag at all times. Do not fear PF, because PF's time is now over. You must spell out all the wrongs that are going on inside PF, especially the issue of distributing money. If the ECZ does not raise the flag or blow the horn on the issue of PF using money to campaign, we will have no choice but to think that they are accomplices in this matter.
Stakeholders have heightened interventions under the phase 2 of the Safe Back to School campaign aimed at safeguarding children in schools in the wake of the COVID-19 pandemic. The program to prevent the COVID-19 in schools is being implemented by the Lusaka City Council and the Lusaka Water Security Initiative and Water Aid. Speaking on behalf of Lusaka City Council Mayor during the COVID-19 guidelines orientation meeting, Wupe Mulenga, who is Kanyama Ward 12 councillor, is impressed that more schools have been added to the list of those to be supported in mitigating the disease in schools. More in this report.
The COVID-19 pandemic has devastated various sectors of the economy, and the education sector has not been spared. Despite the prevalence of the COVID-19, schools had to reopen in the observance of the COVID new normal. The Lusaka City Council has been working with its partners for the safe return of children in school in all the 32 wards in Lusaka district. The second phase of the Safe Back to School program to prevent COVID-19 in schools is being spearheaded by the Lusaka City Council, Lusaka Water Security Initiative, and Water Aid, among others. Speaking on behalf of Lusaka City Council Mayor Mau Sampa during the COVID-19 guidelines orientation meeting, Wupe Mulenga, Kanyama Ward 12 councillor, is happy that there has been no COVID-19 case among pupils.
The COVID-19 disease, and I'm happy to note that there hasn't been any contacts or any reported cases of any child contracting the COVID-19, meaning that right now our schools are moving in the right direction. We need to really commend our partners, Luisi, for the works that they are doing, and that we encourage everyone to keep on and not get tired of following the MOH COVID-19 guidelines, masking up, maintaining social distancing and sanitizing your hands, and if there's no sanitizer, washing your hands and soap.
Lusaka City Council Chairperson of the Health Committee, Chilando Chitangala, is happy that cooperating partners have supported the local authority to implement the COVID-19 prevention program in schools.
We're very happy that this is happening, and we're very happy that we have a lot of cooperating partners. I know we are working together with the council ourselves, DEP's office, Lusaka District Education Office, but under Lucy, and then we're being supported by GIZ and Water Aid. So we've had a lot of support as a council. So this makes us very happy, and then especially that we have these teachers that we call zonal leaders, zonal teachers in all these 10 zones of Lusaka, who are really paying attention and making sure that this project works.
And Teddy Chiwe, the Lusaka District Education Board Secretary, says they remain resolute to guarantee the safety of children and teachers.
The fact that phase 2 is coming after phase 1, which had an initial 42 schools targeted. But from that we have moved where Luis has now gone further and targeted 58. So in total we have 100 of them. And these schools are going to be given the materials that are needed in order to prevent the exacerbation of the contraction of COVID-19 in our schools.
The response towards hygiene interventions in our capacity building is from a hygiene behavior-centered response, where we are looking at people's behaviors, people's motivations, and people's environments that are enabling, and we ensure that the various pupils and the teachers do respond adequately to COVID-19.
Patrick Soko, Camnet News.
The Law Association of Zambia LAS has condemned the ruling Patriotic Front PF over the attacks and accusations directed at Zambian judges. On Friday, 5th March 2021, at a media briefing in Lusaka, PF Provincial Chairman Paul Moonga accused some Zambian judges of colluding with the opposition to disqualify the candidature of President Edgar Lungu ahead of the 2021 general elections. But LAS Honorary Secretary Sokwane Peter Chilembo in a statement says the attacks against judges undermines the judiciary and has the potential to insinuate that the PF is controlling the judiciary for its personal political gains. Counsel Chilembo has urged the PF to tame its members against attacking public institutions mandated to offer a service to the nation. LAS has since encouraged judicial officers to discharge their duties without fear or favor. Meanwhile, the ruling Patriotic Front PF has for the second time disowned Mr. Moonga's statement. On Sunday, PF Deputy Secretary General Mumbi Piri said the statement issued by Mr. Moonga was his own opinion and did not in any way represent the views of the entire PF. But according to the News Diggers newspaper of the 10th of March 2021 edition, Mr. Moonga is quoted as telling off Ms. Piri to keep her lane as she was not his boss. And PF Secretary General has admonished Mr. Moonga's remarks against judges, saying President Edgar Lungu's eligibility is a dead issue that was conclusively dealt with by the Constitutional Court of Zambia. To this effect, Mr. Mwila has warned PF to desist from issuing any statements against the judiciary, saying doing so will result in stern disciplinary against them. And moving on in the news, embattled former Community Development Minister Emerin Kabanchi has denied ever taking part in the contract that took place between the ministry and Zambia Postal Service Corporation ZAMPOST in paying of social cash transfer funds to beneficiaries. Ms. Kabanchi, in her defense, has told Lusaka Chief Resident Magistrate Lamek Mwale that the content on how to implement the contract was done by technical staff who comprised of a team of the ZAMPO Secretary General, the Permanent Secretary from the Ministry of Community Development, and the Permanent Secretary from the Ministry of Communications and Transport. This is in a case in which Ms. Kabanchi is accused of willfully failing to follow procedures which when she re-engaged ZAMPOST as a payment service provider for the social cash transfer program following the termination of the said contract. More in this report.
She has opened a defense in the Lusaka Magistrate Court in a case she has been accused of willful failing to follow procedures when she re-engaged Zambia Postal Service Corporation ZAMPOST as payment service provider for the social cash transfer program following the termination of the said contract. Commencing a defense before Lusaka Magistrate Lamek Mwale Wednesday morning, the former Community Development Minister Emerin Kabanchi testified before court in a defense that her main functions at the time she was minister was to give direction on the policy and strategies in a ministry allowed by the president. She also explained that the other function was to present views and other legislation that came from the ministry in Parliament. Kabanchi, who is also an area member of Parliament, denied ever taking part in the contract that took place between the ministry and Zambia Postal Service Corporation ZAMPOST in paying of social cash transfer funds to beneficiaries. Her argument before court is that the only person who was in charge to extend the contract between ZAMPOST and the ministry was then acting permanent secretary and controlling officer. She first came into spotlight of government's corruption wings after an audit in August 2018 revealed that ZAMPOST diverted funds meant for donor-funded social cash transfer program. By September 2018, President Edgar Lungu fired her after a cleanup in the social cash transfer scandal, which forced some donors to suspend aid to Zambia. In this case, the accused is alleged to have between 21st August 2017 and April 26, 2018, while she was a cabinet minister concerned in the administration and management at the Ministry of Community Development and Social Services, failed to comply with the law by extending the scope of coverage of contracts between ZAMPOS to include 3 provinces and 2 districts under Social Cost Transfer Program. But the accused in a defense testified that the re-engaging of ZAMPOS was done on the 8th of August 2016 to her knowledge and not the 21st of August 2017 and 26th April 2018. Kabanshi also told the court that with regard to extending the scope of coverage, the extension of the contract was reinstated by the need that arose to extend that was facilitated in the contract. The embattled minister denied ever taking part in the facilitation of the said contract, arguing that the technical staff, the acting PS at the time and controlling officer were the ones who facilitated and their duty was only to give direction in policy. Her case has since been closed and both the defense and the state are expected to submit their submissions by 25th of March 2021. After then, the court is expected to give judgment in the matter. Miriam Kaimba, reporting for Camnet TV News.
And still in court news, silence engulfed a courtroom at the Lusaka Magistrate Court when an 18-year-old former Kabulonga Boys school pupil testified how he and other Kabulonga Boys pupils were attacked by Twin Palm Secondary School pupils, leading to the death of Ryan Piri, a Kabulonga Boys pupil. The boy told Judge Sharon Nawa that the Twin Palm pupils outnumbered them, but he managed to escape but took turns in assaulting Ryan. The 18-year-old says the Twin Palm pupils had stones, ghost sticks and other weapons used in the act. 4 pupils from Twin Palm Secondary School are facing 1 count of murder. Ministry of Information and Broadcasting Services Permanent Secretary Amos Malupenga says the cybersecurity bill is aimed at protecting everyone from the cyberspace-related criminalities. Speaking at a media briefing Wednesday, Mr. Malupenga urged the media to play an active role in sending the message across the members of the public to appreciate the Cybersecurity and Cybercrimes Bill, which went through 3rd reading yesterday in Parliament. The Permanent Secretary says contrary to opposing voices, the bill will assure safety and security of all citizens in the cyberspace. Meanwhile, Mr. Malupenga has warned abusers of the cyberspace that their days are numbered. The enactment of the bill comes against the backdrop of rampant abuse of cyberspace by unscrupulous people who are abusing social media platforms to bully others and commit fraud and other financial crimes.
There's been a lot of opposition to the law. Obviously, you can tell that maybe those who don't want the law have got their own reasons. But we know that this law is in public interest. It is there to support, to ensure the safety and security of all Zambians, regardless of their political or religious affiliations. So the first warning we want to send as government is to the keyboard warriors. We want to inform or warn the keyboard warriors that there is no more hiding space in cyberspace, because this law empowers or is going to empower the cyber security officers. These could be in the Zambia Police or ZICTA or any other institution. It's going to empower them to monitor and inspect certain gadgets when they expect or suspect that an offense has been committed or an offense is about to be committed. Meaning, when we talk about gadgets, we'll be talking about your smartphones, the computers, and any other electronic gadgets that we use to communicate in cyberspace. And that is where the confusion is emanating from. The opponents of this law are trying to confuse the situation and say, no, this is the law government is introducing to spy on citizens.
We now take our first set of commercials. Do stay with us as we still have more interesting stories lined up for you.
You know I can take her a bit.
Yes, my dear.
I was thinking of getting you a Bugatti on your birthday.
Really?
I'm quiet. My name is Yana.
Don't worry, my dear. That's why there is insurance.
Insurance?
You heard me.
Not just any kind of insurance, but Savenda General Insurance, a company that offers superior customer service, highly professional and dedicated staff. We are not just any insurance company, but an insurance company that actually pays our claims. We cover, among others, fire, marine, aviation, engineering, agriculture, motor vehicle, and miscellaneous insurance. So, live life to the full, knowing that Savenda General Insurance has got you covered. Savenda General Insurance. Insurance excellence.
Dr. Bigron, musaibala kumutienda ukuni gift na land. Uchenkubeti uibise mojo basayone. Oh! Mwina mushi, nakuletera njinga. Latest inaluvesi gear na mawaipa.
Difficult, dia shidia njinga. Liam 19 pendefcon. Transport, we got it.
Nanga phone for communication. Ipu sana chizungu. Yeah, you see what I mean?
It's a Camnet, difficult.
It's communication. We got it. Indemo me. Powerful system ndimba X-Buzz.
Mufumile kukalale. Na mnaimo muli bakumushi. We got it. Yo Bikron, utola inoleta nchemfule mungani. Get you watch the post and change. 1, 2, 3. Both of you. Kabala ngempang. Don't be stupid. We got it.
And why do you look so pale and busy scratching yourself?
You know my skin is very sensitive. I've tried all the skin products and nothing seems to work.
Have you tried Oracle Pure Glycerin?
Oracle Pure Glycerin? What's that?
Just give me a minute.
Oracle Pure Glycerin gives your skin a youthful and healthy glow.
Ish, you're glowing. Don't tell me.
Yes!
I already know the secrets.
Oracle Pure Glycerin!
Try Oracle Pure Glycerin for that perfect skin.
Hello, I'm Deborah Lukalu, all the way from South Africa. You are watching Camnet channel, not just another channel. God bless you. Stay tuned.
Thank you so much for staying with us. We continue with the news. Some Chinese national accused of forcing a Zambian man to push him on a trolley has failed to appear before Zambia's Labour Commissioner, Given Muntanga. The Chinese national was summoned Wednesday morning by the Labour Commissioner to explain his side of the story, but he could not hit to the summon on account that he was sick and could not walk. In a clip that scanned social media, the Chinese man was captured being pulled on a trolley by one of his workers identified as John Zulu. And the victim, John Zulu, has denied being abused and says the video clip does not represent the true perspective of what happened. Details in this report.
In the first week of March 2021 stunned social media, where a Chinese national was seen being pushed by a Zambian man on a trolley while he was closing shops at a mall. The video was received with mixed feelings by the members of the public, who commenting online condemned the incidents, with most saying it was demeaning and racist.
You can't walk. 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 So now why are you treating your workers like slaves?
This forced the Lusaka mayor Mal Sampa to visit the shops over the weekend and promised that the Chinese national will be investigated and if found wanting will be deported. However, Labour Commissioner Given Muntanga had Wednesday morning summoned the named Chinese national and the alleged victim John Zulu to his office to examine what transpired on the fateful day. The Chinese national, however, did not show up on allegations that he is sick and unable to walk. Mr. Muntanga, however, says his office will continue to investigate the matter to ascertain what transpired before his ministry can comment on the matter.
Investigations are still ongoing. As at yesterday, we are told that he was not feeling well. What have you saw? We'll still have to follow up. I'm sure at some point we'll be able to give you an update on what exactly will transpire going forward. How did he come into the country? When? What is his actual identity? Who is he? So those questions will tend to fall within the ambit of the immigration law. Of course, you have already seen that there was no employer-employee relationship because ours as Ministry of Labour is to look at issues relating to the relationship between the employer and the employee. So it has already been taken out of the realm of that employer-employee relationship, which means it is pushing us outside our mandate because our mandate is to look at the employer-employee relationship. But himself is saying he's not my employer. So if he's not an employer, obviously, if you're talking of abuses now, is it a criminal offense or those things? So those are the issues that we are trying to look at holistically.
And John Zulu, the victim, says he was not abused by the accused Chinese national as he willingly sacrificed to move him on the trolley.
Kozi anesinga ya bwana forcing au jani bosu anga forcing au chika ndo simpai problem manga ya si bosu anga for tomorrow ojani mundu sio kwe so problem munga ya pachanga so munga nonga pa bi problem koga problem hapo pesa mungati marozi munga kan problem yeah but it's not problem millions kozi nezo sha kutisha kufasi yeah.
And the landlord of the mall, Lamasat Limited, says he has offered John Zulu a job with their main premise management office and that the said Chinese man has his tenancy agreement terminated. Prudence Tota, reporting for Camnet TV News.
The Electoral Commission of Zambia, ECZ, says it attaches great importance to the harmonious delimitation of electoral boundaries in areas where the service is needed. ECZ Chairperson Isao Chulu says the Commission is mandated to delimitate constituencies, wards and polling district wards for the purpose of conducting elections of National Assembly and Councils under Article 58 of the Republican Constitution and Section 21 of the Electoral Process Act 35 of 2016. He adds that ECZ would like to ensure that there are no disputes and conflicts among people arising from the delimitation exercise, as peace is fundamental to the delivery of credible elections. Commissioner Chulu was speaking in Petauke during a stakeholders consultative meeting for the delimitation exercise on Wednesday. More in the following report by Zanice.
These are stakeholders from Lusangazi and Petauke districts who have gathered for a consultative meeting on the delimitation exercise organized by the Electoral Commission of Zambia. The Electoral Commission of Zambia were in Petauke to deliberate on how best they should carry out delimitation, as the district shares Msanzala constituents with another district, namely Lusangazi.
Use of constituency boundaries was also concluded and the delimitation report has been concluded. However, the number of constituencies has since remained the same at 156. This therefore implies that for the 2021 general elections, the Commission will have to work within this number of constituencies provided for in the Republican Constitution. In other words, there will be no change. We will stick to 156 constituencies. This exercise is important as the Commission is currently compiling the register of voters in preparation for the 2021 August 4 general election.
And Msanzala Constituents Member of Parliament Peter Daka was in attendance during the consultative meeting.
Msanzala will remain as a unitary constituency the way it has been before the creation of the new district. But in future, I think it will be important that people play ball. If there was a delimitation, this helps to reduce the distances between areas. These constituencies are vast, and when they are vast, in terms of development, you cannot really develop the areas when they're too huge, and the presentation is very little. So for me, the expectation has been what it was or hasn't been, because we should have done better if we had cut the Msanzala half to give Lusangazi its own constituency and the other side another constituency.
The church leadership was also in attendance.
The core, even from the church, is a peaceful environment. An environment that is peaceful. I think we don't want, after the August 12th, for us to begin to run around. We need to embrace one another.
After the consultative meeting with various stakeholders, it is hoped that the process would be carried out in a harmonious manner to ensure that the delimitation of electoral boundaries are also concluded for the delivery of credible elections in August this year. Hilda Msonda in Petauke District, Eastern Province.
The National Biosafety Authority, NBA, has granted Crown Foods Ingredients Zambia a permit to import products which may contain genetically modified organisms, GMOs, and NBA has seized Kellogg's products which were brought into the country without prior authorization from the NBA by Woolworths supermarkets in Lusaka. NBA Communications Officer Sandra Lombe says Crown Foods Ingredients Zambia will bring in various premixes and other ingredients which may contain GMOs. She adds that from January to date, the authority has also issued 5 non-GMO certificates to the companies intending to export some products from Zambia. And the NBA, during its sport and compliance checks, seized Kellogg's Cornflakes, Kellogg's Cocoa Pops, and Kellogg's Rice Krispies worth over 5,000 kwacha from Woolworths supermarket and Manda Hill in Lusaka. The products will be disposed of according to the Biosafety Act number 10 of 2007. The authority is calling on all those trading in products that may contain GMOs to ensure that they have the necessary required authorization to avoid any inconveniences. Meanwhile, the authority has from January to date registered one institutional biosafety committee for the Center for Disease Research in Zambia, and currently the NBA is actively participating in activities regarding COVID-19 vaccines.
We have granted Crown Food Ingredients Zambia a permit to import products that may contain GMOs. The company will bring in various premixes and other ingredients which may contain GMOs. The import permit, which is valid for 5 years, has been granted after risk assessment. The company has also been granted a 6-month permit to place on the market products which it will import. The NBA has also issued Zambian brands, Gadbro International Limited, Southern Nation Import and Export, Gola Stock Feeds and Choppies Limited permits for placing on the market products that may contain GMOs. From January to date, we have also issued 5 non-GMO certificates to companies intending to export some products from Zambia. Meanwhile, we have seized Kellogg's Cornflakes, Kellogg's Cocoa Pops, and Kellogg's Rice Krispies from Woolworths supermarket in Lusaka, which were brought into the country without prior authorization from the NBA. The products will be disposed of according to the Biosafety Act number 10 of 2007.
The Central Province National Action for Quality Education in Zambia, NACAZE, says the lack of transport has greatly affected the management and quality of education in the province. NACAZE Provincial Coordinator Benjamin Kajoba explains that all vehicles belonging to the 12 District Education Board secretaries are all faulty and not moving. Mr. Kajoba says as a result, district education authorities are facing critical times in the area of distribution, supervision and monitoring of examinations in schools. NACAZE, through Mr. Kajoba in the province, has since appealed to government through the Ministry of General Education to urgently aid them with reliable transport in order to enable effective monitoring and supervision of schools, especially those in far-flung areas.
National Action for Quality Education in Zambia, NACAZE in Central Province, we are deeply concerned with the plight of the 12 District Education Board secretaries in the province in terms of run-down vehicles, which are mostly on rocks. This has really affected management and quality of education in the province. As NACAZE in the province, we have observed the anguish in which the district education authorities go through in the critical times, such as distribution, supervision and monitoring of examinations in the schools. It is also very difficult for education authorities in Central to monitor standards and quality assurances in schools. Without monitoring standards in schools, our dream for quality education in the province will be a pipe dream. NACAZE Central appeals to government through the Ministry of General Education to urgently provide the new vehicles in order to enable the effective monitoring and supervision of schools, especially those in far-flung areas. Given the physical terrain of Central Province, most places are hard to reach now, and new vehicles will go a long way in enhancing the provision of quality education in the province.
Opposition United Prosperous and Peaceful Zambia President Charles Chanda says political parties adopting women as vice presidents or potential running mates are not genuinely doing it to elevate the women folk but meant to sway people's attention. According to him, political parties appointing women to such high political offices are only seeking sympathy from organizations championing their rights of women. Mr. Chanda says women must be appointed based on merit befitting the position. He has denounced the act of appointing women based on sympathy. Among the parties who have settled for female vice presidents include the UPND and the Democratic Party.
When we are talking about the running mate, you can do a kind of plastic surgery because you want to please the masses. There are certain positions that, as much as we are gender sensitive, we need to get the most qualified person to do the work. If the most qualified person that can sit in as president, should anything happen, is a female, then a female will be adopted. If it is a man that can sit in very well, then a man will be adopted. So we are not following what others are doing, where you want to show people that you are gender sensitive, and yet when you look at certain positions, there is no woman. So that we are not doing. So basically what we are saying is the best person will take the position of vice president. We need to be objective. It's just a competition. And you know, this is why, even when it comes to language, it's all about, you know, you want to show that we are doing this. You want to have the women voice. And so that you can tell the women that you can see we have the women vice president. But I mean, at the end of the day, you need to look at situations. We have had a woman vice president. And the impact, you know, everybody needs to check what has been the impact.
Government through the Road Development Agency, RDA, has released over 124 million kwacha towards the rehabilitation works of roads and bridges across Msanzala constituency of Petauke district in Eastern Province. Msanzala constituency Member of Parliament Peter Daka says his constituency will benefit about 95.8 kilometers of the road works, which will be worked on by RDA once rains are finished. Mr. Daka says the PF government wants to ensure that development in all sectors is taken to the rural areas as funds for the rehabilitation of the feeder roads and bridges is available. He was speaking Tuesday when he held a community meeting at Kapandula Village and Nsamba Primary School, where he highlighted developmental activities that government is undertaking in the constituency.
Hapa yonse imvula ikareka tiyambe kukonza na Edgar Chagwarungu ovikonza omuleterani mwe through the member of parliament councillors na makanso chairman bali makanso alabirapo za vikwati baba na tonto etani bana basirije kuti bapezeke ko nchito na baskulu basirije maskulu baleke kukwatiriwa msanga eri marriages tentireke Work
with Brand International to identify pupils who fall pregnant in the community to help them come back to school. And we work with the headmen in the community and the religious leaders so that we encourage those girl child to come back to school so that they can continue with their education.
ngati tigulizani na boma ni kuti mchalo tivutike lini na vana muno badwa mtendeki uone pani ngwira wawo kuja vawenye kunoti atikope kwa mayai setikope pa boma yamene ili.
We take another set of commercials. Do stay with us as we still have international and sports news. Do not go away.
From time immemorial, we have had different types of lighting options, from those that can burn down our investments in minutes to those that dig holes in our pockets due to constant replacement and huge consumption of our ZESCO units. Savenda Electric introduces the new and advanced electric bulb with cutting-edge technology of LED that has low power consumption, gives out bright white light, and lasts up to 25,000 hours. Savenda Electric manufactures all types of LED light, like plastic LED fluorescent tubes, down lights, ceiling lights, outdoor fittings, and solar street lights made to customer specifications. Let's live on the bright side of life by choosing the wide range of Savenda electric lighting solutions that are available in all leading stores and supermarkets countrywide. For orders, call 0962-642-490 or email jnbunda@savenda.com or pchabula@savenda.com.
We all know how important good nutrition is to grow up big and strong. Not only is cowbell milk enriched with 28 vitamins and minerals, it's also boosted by the 5 most important vitamins, which we call Vita-Rich.
It's got vitamin A for good eyesight development. It's got vitamin C to help fight infections. It's got vitamin D and calcium to help build strong bones and teeth. It's got vitamin E to help with body protection. And it's got vitamin K for general well-being and immunity.
For good health and vitality, only cowbell with Vita-Rich puts you on the fast track.
Can I have that meal over there? And I really want that crisp, fresh apple taste from the garden. Can I have apple?
I think I'll have my big bite 2 meal with Happy Waziwaka. Give us your
Enjoy an appetizing big bite meal with an Appy drink of your choice. A meal is not a meal without an Appy drink. And now introducing Appy in a can.
Hello, I'm Deborah Lukalu, all the way from South Africa. You are watching Camnet channel, not just another channel. God bless you. Stay tuned.
We celebrate. For all you've done, Lord, we give you all the praise. Oh, we testify. We celebrate.
Thank you so much for staying with us. We continue with the news. In international news, Texas Governor Greg Abbott has criticized President Joe Biden's administration's policies for the increasing numbers of migrants arriving at the U.S.-Mexico border. Biden has overturned many of the headline policies of his predecessor Donald Trump, and many of the new arrivals are unaccompanied children. Abbott has ordered hundreds of National Guard troops to the southern border to cope with what he says is a growing crisis.
U.S. Border Patrol agents encountered more than 19,000 unaccompanied migrant children at the border this fiscal year, a number on pace to vastly surpass previous surges. The minors made the arduous journey from Central America without a parent, arriving after President Joe Biden reopened the border to them.
We felt it was the most humane approach to addressing what are very difficult circumstances in the region, and that means there are more children, kids under the age of 18, of course, coming across the border.
Border Patrol encountered 78,000 migrants in January, a leap from former President Donald Trump's final months in office and the highest January total in a decade. On Tuesday, the Republican governor of Texas announced a surge of state police and National Guard troops in response to the worsening situation.
There is a crisis on the Texas border right now, with the overwhelming number of people who are coming across the border. This crisis is a result of President Biden's open border policies.
The Biden administration says the border is still closed to the majority of migrants. The few who are allowed in, officials say, are the unaccompanied children and the asylum seekers who had already been waiting in line in Mexico for 2 years. These families will live freely in the U.S. until an immigration judge decides whether they can stay. But the children who've arrived alone are detained inside Border Patrol holding cells for days or weeks in violation of a court order as they wait for shelter space that's nearing 100% capacity. The government has canceled pandemic restrictions at the shelters to fit more children who live here for more weeks until they are placed with U.S. sponsors.
We're definitely seeing an uptick in numbers, but we're also seeing that the administration is very conscious of it and is working very quickly to put resources into place to handle future flows.
Progressives urge the White House to improve the conditions of detained children, while conservatives accuse Biden of inviting a run on the border. Meanwhile, pandemic-related poverty in Central America is driving more people to leave, putting more pressure on Biden and on the U.S. border. Heidi Jo Castro, Al Jazeera, Washington.
We now get into sports news. NAPSA Stars head coach Mohamed Fethi believes his side is ready to take on the reigning champions of the CAF Confederations Cup. Fethi has set his side on finishing first or second position in the group. The pensioners gaffer says he is not worried about whether as it is business as usual. Fethi expects a very tactical game against very technical players. NAPSA has had a poor start in the league but doing very well in the continental football, and Fethi does not want to mix the two as they are two different competitions. NAPSA Stars will be looking for a good start to their group stage campaign this evening when they square off with RS BERKANE at the Stade Municipal de BERKANE at 21 hours Zambian time. The story is courtesy of Zamfoot Sports. That sports item brings us to the end of the news, but before we go, a recap of the headlines. Abusive Chinese nationals snub Zambian authorities. LAS condemns PF over threatening remarks against judges as party disowns MOONGA for the second time. Persistent talks between IMF and Zambian government over BAILOUT worry CTPD. In international news, Texas governor blames Biden for migrant surge at border. And in sports news, NAPSA stars ready to face defending champions RS BERKANE. The Camnet verse is coming from the book of John 15 verse 2, and it reads, "Every branch in me that does not produce fruit he removes, and he prunes every branch that produces fruit so that it will produce more fruit." On behalf of the entire news production crew and myself, Liseli Kanyanga Mubanga, thank you so much for watching Camnet TV News on Camnet TV, not just another channel.